Going to adjust the clutch on my Kawasaki Z1000SX. Now, the problem is, after a while, you get to the point where this is coming out a little bit too far, so you can no longer adjust the clutch at this point. Now, I've pulled this out quite a bit of a way, just to exaggerate, you know, what position we might be in. But when we get in a little bit more than, or close to a little finger's, it depends how big your hands are, right? But for mine, a little finger's width, that's excessive. So what we then need to do is stop adjusting from here, and we need to adjust down the other side. So coming around this side of the bike, the adjustment point that we need is just underneath here, underneath this rubber grommet, which allows the cable to pull the clutch from this position. So in order to get that, we need to take the fairing off. If you haven't removed the fairing before, we're going to need to take this panel off. So there's one bolt here, plus one on the other side, which is around there. We're going to need to take this bolt off here, same again there. This panel pulls through. If you've got a lighter, or you're not going to have a lighter, but if you've got a USB charger, you're going to have to disconnect that first. And then you've got here and here are your two main bolts. Then also you're going to have to disconnect this part of the fairing from the other side, which is one here and one under the bottom. And then also you've got little press studs that's going to be connecting the plastic internals of this. I'll go around the other side so I can show you. Oh, maybe I won't be able to show you from there. I'll show you on this side. You see those two press studs there, or one. I've got one missing, which I need to replace. You'll have two there, and you'll have one further down the bottom, and that connects the inner of the plastic to the fairing. So we're just going to strip that off real quick. So once we've taken the side fairing off, here's what we're looking at. You can see here, this is the lock-in nut, and here is the adjuster. Now, the first thing we need to do is pull this back, loosen that off a little bit. You can see that there's quite a lot of space in there, but before we start making adjustments here, let's reset back at the handle position. So here we want to wind this all the way in, to here. So let's do that and come back. A little tip here, when you get to this position, it's hard to get your finger in to push that clip back and to turn that at the same time. So a little tip, get yourself your 12mm spanner, which you're going to be using for adjusting the nuts. Turn it to this angle, just put it there, so you can see that you've got that bit there, and just lean back on it. So with one hand, you're leaning back on that very slightly, and the other hand you can carry on twisting the clutch adjustment. So we're pretty much all the way in now, and the amount of play we have on this handle is absolutely ridiculous. At that position, it's not even pulling the clutch plates yet. A little bit more of a squeeze, I'm going all the way down, that's not going to do anything. And that is me literally pushing it all the way to the handle. So now we've got that position, we're going to go back down to the other side, and we're going to adjust. We're going to adjust our positions here. Now, this is a 12mm bolt on most Japanese, all Kawasaki's, I think, no matter what year, have a 12mm on this one in particular. So we're going to adjust that one. So first thing we need to do is we need to crack off the nut, which is this basically. Give it a nice bit of slack right to the end there. Then to adjust and make it tighter, we're going to turn this one up. We're going to actually start rotating this one up. Let's do that by hand. Rotating up, and what we're actually doing, we're pulling that one even closer. Now because this bike has only done 8,000 miles, the clutches usually last, 15,000-20,000 miles easily, and that's with a little bit of abuse in terms of drag starts and wheelies and stuff like that. This particular one, we can tell that we've got a lot of room there, so we're going to adjust this so that we're at the position where we can't really go anymore, and then we're going to adjust back at the handle again. So now we've still got all of this play up in the handle, but we have tightened it as much as we can on the actual clutch itself. So we are now going to adjust the handle by rotating this counterclockwise, so it pulls out and adjusts the cable and pulls the cable a bit more. So where you want to get to the point of, with the lever in the full back position, when you apply some pressure on here and you can feel that you're starting to get resistance with one finger, just use the middle finger. This finger is actually stronger, easier to use your middle finger, and just pull it. And if you're not sure, check the other side of the bike here. You can see when that's starting to move. Yeah, when you have to put too much pressure on it, you can see it's moving more. And what I mean by too much pressure is when it starts to hurt, you might have really strong hands, but when it starts to hurt like there, that's when it's starting to engage. So at this point, just before that, you want to check there. You want to check how much movement you've got. Now, if you can fit in there £1 coin, because we're in the UK, it's easier to do this, you've got enough slack there. If you can fit £2 in there, you've got too much slack. If you can't fit a £1 coin in there, you need more slack. That's the easiest way to adjust it, because if you've got aftermarket levers, the adjustment which you usually do from here on a measurement in the Kawasaki manual will be incorrect. So adjust from here. Check this. If you're pulling it to a point now where with one middle finger you can feel it start pushing, you can still feel it start getting hard, check that gap there. If you can put £2 coins in there, adjust it more, further in. If you can only put £1 coin, or you can't put a £1 coin in there, you need to adjust it out a little bit more. So for me, this position here is about right. So we're pretty much done now. We've still got loads of thread left on that. That down there is adjusted to how we want it. Now what you could do as well, if you really wanted to test this completely, get your bike up on a paddock stand at the back, start the bike up, put it in first gear, let go of the clutch, you'll see the wheel going round, and then just pull the clutch in. As you pull the clutch in, God, that's hard to do that with a thumb. Pull the clutch in. When your wheel stops or starts disengaging, put a little bit of pressure on your back foot as it's rotating. Not so that you're spinning the wheel so fast you're going to burn and melt your shoes, but a little bit of pressure on the back foot onto the wall of the wheel. And then as you pull that in, when the clutch is disengaged, the wheel should just stop. And that's when you know when you're completely disengaged. You should have it around about here. It shouldn't be all the way down there. It should be about here when it disengages. If it's all the way up here, you need to adjust more. If it's all the way down here, you haven't adjusted enough. I hope that's helped out a little bit, guys. The tools you're going to need for this, basically, you won't need any tool for that. You'll just need a spanner, which is a 12mm spanner that I'm using to adjust the locking bolt and the adjuster nut on the clutch itself. You could use that same spanner to alleviate the pressure so that you can rotate this by hand. And then you need your normal 3 different types of Allen keys for the bolts here, for the fairing bolts, and you'd need a flathead small screwdriver to get out the press studs and the pins in the panels. So we're going to put the fairing back on, and then we're going to test out the biting point. Okay, fairing's all back on. I've unlocked the bike from all the shackles and the disc lock, and I've pulled it out now. We're actually going to start it up and see if we can feel the biting point. So let's jump onto the bike. Side stand off, ignition on. This is the part where we annoy the neighbours. Probably won't hear me, I'll voice over this bit anyway. With the clutch in, first gear. Now if we think that the biting point is still too far in, that was about gear. We can adjust it a bit more while the engine's running. But for me, this is pretty much perfect. Right where it is there is perfect. So that is pretty much it. Overall time it's taken to actually take off the center, the dash surround, the fairing. I've done this many times now, and I think this is the most difficult side. Even though it's got one less bolt, the other side is another bolt here. You still have to hook the exhaust cover into the rubber bung, which is a pain in the butt. And if you have something like a R&G downpipe guard, then it's even more complicated. The most difficult bit is here. You've got two flanges here, just don't break those. When you've taken everything off and there's two push rods here, which basically pull in, you pop that out. There's one here, you pop that out. And once you've undone all of the other bolts, tilt this way and then pull it back gently towards the back of the bike, and that will unlatch the hinges here, and then do the complete opposite when you're putting it back on. Then the clutch adjustment itself, you know, if I wasn't taking videos, that would probably take me 2 or 3 minutes. And then the adjustment up here, again, 2 or 3 minutes. So you should be able to do this quite easily in about 15-20 minutes. Give yourself half an hour, give yourself an hour, you know, just in case, but you should be good in around about 20-25 minutes. Anyway, hope this has helped. I'll look forward to your comments. If you've got any questions, let me know. And if you found this video useful, as usual, please give us a like. And if you want to see more content, give us a subscribe. And I'll speak to you later. Cheers. Bye-bye.